Hello, I'm Melody. Welcome to Myanmar Today Review, and this is where we visit the top stories from this week from Myanmar Today. Here are the reports from our reporters from this week. Myanmar National League to kick off soon amid COVID-19. Maha Muni Pagoda is considered to be reopened by the Mandalay Regional Government. How COVID-19 is changing the way of food industries. Waterway transport develops more passenger safety, including health. Ministries clarifies findings on National Planning Report and Union Budget Report. Before we get to the reports, let's take a look at the featured local news from this week. A ceremony to present honorary certificates to the highest taxpayers for the 2018 to 2019 tax year was held at the Presidential Palace in Naypyidaw on Monday. President U Myint conferred the honorary certificates on individuals with outstanding payments for income tax, commercial tax, and Pacific goods tax. In his speech, the president stressed that every nation needs to collect tax for development rather than relies on natural resources and foreign loans. The governments need to manage the tax collected, not to waste it. There needs to develop the tax culture in line with democratic norms in Myanmar. The government has been working to make the tax system in the country clear, fair, and correct. Business development not only improves the socioeconomic status of people in a country, but also polishes the country image and identity. The president wished for continued success to the tax-paying business people. After his speech, the president presented honorary certificates to the highest income tax, commercial tax, and Pacific goods taxpayers from local companies for 2018 to 2019 tax year. According to the photo report of Naypyidaw Information and Public Relations Department, it's learned the State Councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi inspected the public announcement of voter lists at the Union Territory Naypyidaw Election Subcommittee office on the morning of Friday. And I believe it's time now for our first report. At the video conferencing hosted by State Councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi concerning the reorganizing of football matches, it was mentioned that Myanmar National League is to kick off around the end of August. The Ministry of Health and Sports has inspected necessary measures at the football stadiums and clubs for more football matches to be held as soon as possible.
The football matches in Myanmar have come to a halt during the outbreak of COVID-19. Along with the calm situation of local transmission, the restrictions are being eased gradually and respective socio-economic sectors in the country are heading towards the recovery. The relevant organizations are planning to organize the football matches in line with the health guidelines, and as the first match, Myanmar National League will kick off soon. This was said by the Ministry of Health and Sports and Myanmar Football Federation at the regular video conferencing hosted by State Councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi. Together with the State Councillor Dr. Takhaiwin, Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Health and Sports, U Zozo, Chairman of Myanmar Football Federation, and U Tihar, National Selected Goalkeeper, discussed necessary measures to be able to reorganize the football matches soon.
The Ministry of Health and Sports have inspected the football clubs and stadium in Yangon, including Yangon United Football Club, Tuwana Football Stadium, and National Football Academy Yangon. SOP guidelines are developed and discussed. We had meetings with Myanmar Football Federation and football club owners. As the first step, Myanmar National League is allowed to be held. We have done the inspections of the clubs of Myanmar National League. All the rounds of the league will be held in Yangon, and the audience will not be allowed. We have continuous monitoring team to check the whole progress of the league. For the players and the related professionals participating in the league, we have put them into the specific camp and tested their nasal swab.
Till now, over 300 people from the camp for the league have been tested and showed negative for COVID-19. 5,000 people are related in the football industry in Myanmar and 50,000 are standing as amateur players.
Living of us, football players and our families depend on football. The football players were trained to be professionals in 2019 and we did earn a lot. Since we have to stop the training during the outbreak of COVID-19, we have suffered from financial difficulties and mental challenges. As we need to have more team training, the hiatus causes us loss in power and confidence. We need to practice both the team and individually for about 3 weeks to 1 month before the league starts.
Myanmar Football Federation is negotiating and getting assistance from Asian Football Confederation as well as FIFA. Based on the success of the Myanmar National League, more matches including Women League and Futsal are scheduled to kick off again.
There are
10 clubs in League 1 and 8 clubs in League 2. The 2 winner clubs from the league are allowed to participate in Asian Champion League and AFC Cup. So we are to adjust the football calendar with the ASEAN countries. As the football industry mainly depends on commercial purpose, it is important for us to organize the matches as soon as possible. We have planned more matches scheduled and they are submitted to the Ministry of Health and Sports to have the consideration to organize as quickly as possible.
Since the audiences are not allowed, it is to broadcast the live matches on the national television. The government is to support more for the football industry since many of the citizens show great interest in football.
The difficulty of our football industry is that the players were not able to consume enough nutrition since childhood. We need to have more efforts in it for our football to secure a good ranking globally. For the football academies, we are working to develop necessary measures for boarding houses, but we will see into details before it is allowed to open. We encourage sportsman spirit and we want to support the sports sector, especially football.
The Ministry of Health and Sports updated the international regulations for football amid COVID-19 to be able to suitable with the country's situation. When striving to have a better ranking globally, the reopening of the football matches as soon as possible will be a supportive solution for football industry in Myanmar. News reported by Thora Susan from Myanmar International Radio.
That's the report on Myanmar National League to kick off soon amid COVID-19. Maha Muni Pagoda's Board of Trustees has submitted the permission letter to the regional government to reopen Maha Muni Pagoda and has arranged the preparations for preventive health care measures.
Maha Muni Pagoda, the head of Mandalay, the cultural center of Myanmar, is considered to be reopened by Mandalay Regional Government. Maha Muni Pagoda's Board of Trustees has submitted the permission letter to the regional government and has arranged the preparations for preventive healthcare measures. Uttoto Myo, Secretary of Maha Muni Pagoda's Board of Trustees, said.
As soon as the pagoda is allowed to reopen, we have prepared the preventive measure to protect the public from the infection. We have arranged the hand wash basins together with hand sanitizer at the 4 main entrances to the pagoda. The front and north entrance are the main gates for the worshippers, so we put more basin and soap there for the public. We will want the worshippers to wear face masks and the volunteering of the pagoda to sell the face masks at the fair price for the worshippers. Then the worshipper will have the body temperature measured by thermometer scan. If anyone is found to have higher body temperature than normal, we will inform the regional medical officer. Only 500 people will be allowed to enter for a batch of worshipping to avoid the mass gathering or crowds. The next worshipper can only enter when the former leave the pagoda, and we have planned the rest space on the platform of the pagoda. The time allowance for worshipping is from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day.
The shopkeepers for purchasing on the platform of the pagodas are going to be allowed with limitations, Ujojomyo added. Utea Regional Representative from Chamya Tazi Township said.
The regional government will make the decisions on whether to allow the pagodas in Mandalay region reopening. Before making decision on the case, we have to consider the consequences of both reopening and closure for long. We have to notice that even ASEAN countries are suffering the second wave impact of COVID-19 and the vaccine is not found yet. On the other hand, the public, especially whose businesses related with the pagodas are getting hurt their livings. Even we can limit and restrict the number of worshippers on the pagoda. What if the people are crowded in front of the entrances? Suppose that the regional government will evaluate these consequences of reopening and closure of pagodas.
Matiri Tengtengdu is a Mandalay regional tourist guide and she shared her experience on the impact of the closure of pagoda in regional tourist guide industry.
Every tourist guide is suffering the economic and social impact of COVID-19 crisis. But normally the period between April and September are not the peak season for travel in Myanmar. So it is not much severely damaged to the tourist guides right now. The tourist guides are also working as study guides and language teachers for our livings. Although we hope to reoperate in the tourism industry, only the healthy tourists are wanted. We do not want the virus infection come into our country through the tourists.
Srirago Pagoda in Yangon considered for its reopening with a possible system of online registration to track the pagoda's visitors, and Sule Pagoda is preparing precautionary measures and holding workshops with pagoda's staffs. Even though the situations might be in progress, a date has not been officially set for the pagoda's reopening.
That's the report on Maha Muni Pagoda is considered to be reopened by the Mandalay Regional Government. In the last decade, our lives have largely moved from bricks to clicks, shifting from a physical dimension to the digital world. The food sector is no exception. As the unfortunate turns of events from COVID-19 shape up for what customers demanded in the food industry, it is time to find out how COVID-19 is changing the way of food industries and restaurants.
Regarding the well-known spread of the unfortunate COVID-19, the arising form of contactless delivery to table distancing to Michelin-starred restaurants joining online apps, the COVID-19 outbreak has left its mark on the food service industry in China, and the effects could linger even after the public health emergency is over. With new cases dramatically decreasing in China, life is slowly going back to normal and becomes lively. And that means restaurants are back in business. As well in the world, restaurants are also adapting to the new situation as the pandemic continues its global spread. With Japan deployment of robot chefs to cook noodles at the railway station to Brazil's hungry customers abandoning sit-down meals for orders to comfort of their homes. Regarding these situations, we will find out how the restaurant and food industry have been surviving and enduring these circumstances. Mr. Li Shenwei, chairman of Yunnan Huishan Catering Company Limited, will tell us more about his techniques in controlling the situation in minimal defect.
COVID ကာလမှာပေါ့နော်အခက်အခဲတွေကဒါလုပ်ငန်းတိုင်းရှိနေတာဒီလိုအခက်အခဲကာလမှာစားတောက်ဆိုင်လုပ်ငန်းစုတွေပေါ့နော်ဒီလိုရှင်သန်ရပ်တည်နိုင်အောင်လို့မစ္စတာလီတို့ဒီဝေရှမ်းစားတောက်ဆိုင်လုပ်ငန်းစုအနေနဲ့ဘယ်လိုမျိုးများဒီအခက်အခဲတွေကိုကြော်ဖြတ်ခဲ့ရတယ်လေဒီအတွေ့အကြုံလေးတွေကိုမြန်မာပရိသတ်တွေကိုလည်းမျှဝေပေးပါအောင်ရှင့်
疫情过后呢其实作为餐饮业的复工复产啊
If we are to talk about the food business, whether it may be restaurant chain or food delivery, I use certain three methods to maintain the flow of the business. The first method I regularly use will always be to seek out for what people might be demanding. The demand might be related to the food or product they want to consume or services that they think it's better for them. Therefore, before striving to anything innovative, I would firstly seek for what they might be demanding and work on that firstly. And it is really important at the current situation with COVID-19 as people demand services more than ever.
大部分都是做的是食品那么我们如何能够就是把我们的食物变成商品
In the last decade, our lives have largely moved from bricks to clicks, shifting from a physical dimension to the digital world where most transactions are concluded online. Internet-based platforms are the leading actors of this technological shift and unquestionably stand at the heart of today's digital economy. The food sector is no exception. Until recently, food innovation generally happened in laboratories and mostly involved new techniques of agricultural production. Then the digital revolution hit the food sector, as any other industry, and the internet became the instrument through which the agro-food chain started one of its most drastic makeovers. Mr. Li Shenwei will tell us more about this, adding on his experiences regarding this sector.
Mr. Li တို့ဝေရှမ်းစားတောက်ဆိုင်လုပ်ငန်းစုအနေနဲ့ပေါ့နော်မြန်မာနိုင်ငံမှာရောဒီလုပ်ငန်းပေါ့နော်ထူထောင်ဖို့ရှိလားဘယ်လိုအခြေအနေရှိလဲပူးပေါင်းမှုတွေပါရှိလားအဲ့ဒါလေးလည်းသိချင်ပါတယ်ရှင်
一定要减少所有不必要的开支
On the other hand, the second method I use is to expand the ease in service activities on the online side of things. As for us, Yunnan, Huishan, we are working on to make packaging viable to store for a little longer to be shippable or deliverable for a longer period of time, which is really a necessity. We should always look for a way to make online purchasing reliable and convenient for all ages. The UI for the website should be simple and accessible with precise direction to help majority of the people relating those areas. Last method but not least is to finally innovate new products and food recipes to expand your customers' need as much as you can. You must cater towards customers' demand as much as possible. You could also make some researches for what they want as well as to listen what people are saying about the products that they want. With that said, relating to Myanmar, we are currently considering importing Myanmar's raw ingredients and using it in our products to actually make a business connection between Yunnan's side of food procedures and Myanmar's.
达成很多的农产品的一些的采购的一些合作
That's the report on how COVID-19 changing the way of food industries. The inland water transport is providing better services for the safety of the passengers, including health safety. It is managing the port with manpower, and as for the health instructions, the necessary measures against COVID-19 are being carried out, such as placing basins with soap. The number of passengers using waterway transport is increasing gradually.
The Inland Water Transport (IWT) is placing emphasis on safety of the passengers during the rainy season, and it is now to have additional health safety measures as part of preventive measures against the spread of the COVID-19. During the outbreak of COVID-19, the number of passengers using waterway dropped. However, the number is gradually increasing again after the period of danger when the workplaces are reopened and some of the restrictions are relaxed. Along with the bus transportation, waterway transport also plays an important role for the people residing from the other bank of Yangon River to come to the downtown of Yangon. Dodi Dimian is Dalat Township Manager of Inland Water Transport, and she added more information.
For ensuring
the safety of the passengers and fitness of the ferries, we have reinforced the skillful manpower in waterway and machineries. The supervisor is leading the team to make sure of the fitness of the ferries and the safety of the passengers. The supervisor and other staffs stand by for the port to manage the getting on and off of the passengers. They alert the passengers not to jump in and out of the ferries, to get off the ferries only after it has completely stopped. For their health safety, we have placed basins with soaps, and we request the passengers to wash hands and wear masks. When the ferries have finished sailing at night, we clean the ferries with antibacterial, and the ticket counter is disinfected as well. The passengers have to cooperate with us so that we can serve the safe trip.
2 ferries run in a day, each of which provides 46 runs. The ferries carry lifeboats, life jackets more than the capacity of the passengers. Umye A is the captain of Cherry Ferry number 1, and he also said,
We announce necessary measures with hand speakers for the passengers to follow when the ferries are crossing from one side to other. We have 56 lifeboats, each of which can carry a maximum of 22 persons. We have 1,200 life jackets. We have more safety equipment more than the capacity of the passengers. We do not carry more than the passenger capacity. Although the ferry can carry 1,200 passengers, there are only around 400 to 500 due to the outbreak of COVID-19. During the rainy season, we have to pay attention to the weather situation.
In Yangon, the public transportation cannot give the chance for proper social distancing, so that the passengers should follow the health measures such as wearing masks, washing hands, but they are still weak in doing so.
During the outbreak of COVID-19, we request the passengers to definitely wear masks since most are careless about wearing masks. This disease is not over yet in the world. We appreciate the effort of the government to be able to control the local transmission in our country, but we have to notice that the disease has not disappeared yet.
Waterway is the important transportation for the people from Dalat Township working in Yangon, as well as for the people from Delta areas to travel to Yangon.
It is easy and does not take much longer to ride on the ferry, since the ferry leaves every 15 minutes. However, I don't feel like the normal situation like before the outbreak of COVID-19. I make sure not to forget to wear masks every time I go outside and use public transportation.
During the outbreak of COVID-19, the passengers using Waterway to go to Yangon from Dalat Township were about 5,000 in a day, and this number has sharply increased at the current time because of the opening of workplaces and the realization of preventive measures. At present, about 12,000 passengers use Waterway to go to Yangon from Dalat in a day.
That's the report on waterway transport develops more passenger safety, including health. The ministries give clarifications on a national planning report and union budget report by the Joint Public Accounts Committee on the 9th day of 2nd Bidangsu Lodaw's 17th regular session, as well as responded to the presentations of the Lodaw representatives, after which the Bidangsu Lodaw recorded the reports.
The 9th day of 2nd Pidangsu Luro 17 regular session was held on Friday, and the ministries presented and clarified matters relating to the findings of the Joint Public Accounts Committee for National Planning Report and Union Budget Report for the first 6 months of 2019-2020 fiscal years and the discussions of the Luro representatives. The Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Irrigation, the Ministry of Electricity and Energy, the Ministry of Commerce, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Construction, and the Ministry of Planning, Finance and Industry gave clarifications of the two reports. During the first 6 months of 2019-2020 fiscal years, the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Irrigation has spent 108.143 billion KES for planning, which is 25.13% of the estimated amount. It had 7.146 billion KES revenue, which is about 33% of estimated amount, and 144.971 billion KES for expenditure, which is 51.15% of the estimated amount. For the Ministry of Electricity and Energy, it has spent about 25% of estimated amount for planning projects, and it had about 95% of the targeted amount for revenue and 92% for expenditure. The Ministry of Education presented the opening of high schools and performing health safety measures at schools. The Ministry of Commerce explained the trade and supply chain during the outbreak of COVID-19.
စီးပွားရေးနဲ့ကုသရေးဝန်ကြီးဌာနအနေနဲ့ပို့ကုန်ဥဆောင်တဲ့တိုးတက်မှုရရှိစေရန်အတွက်ပို့ကုန်သုံးစတိုးမြင့်နိုင်ရေးကိုဆောင်ရွက်နေတဲ့အပြင်ပြည်တွင်းကုန်သွယ်မှုလုပ်ငန်းများတိုးတက်လာစေရေးကိုလည်းဥတီဆောင်ရွက်လျက်ရှိပါတယ်
The Ministry of Commerce is heading towards the export leading trade, and we are working to improve the export rate. We are also focusing on local trade improvement. During the outbreak of COVID-19, the ministry placed emphasis on keeping the local and international supply chain connected. Watermelons and melons, which could not be exported because of COVID-19, were sold to the local market by organizing the expo in Yangon. The agricultural produce from Shan State were distributed and sold in other cities of the country.
ထို့ပြင်တောင်သူများထံမှစားသုံးသူများထံတရက်ရောင်းချနိုင်အောင်တောင်သူဈေးကားအစီအစဉ်အကောင့်ထဲဖော်မှုကိုလည်း
Then the Ministry of Construction also explained the project completion during the first 6 months of 2019-2020 fiscal years.
ပထမ6လပတ်တည်ပွင့်လင်းကာလဖြစ်တဲ့အတွက်60%အထက်ပြည်သည့်တင်တာဖြစ်ပါလေတကယ်လည်းပဲကျွန်တော်တို့ဝန်ကြီးဌာနရဲ့လုပ်ငန်းတွေဒီပထမ6လပတ်မှာ60%နဲ့အထက်
Since the first 6 months of the fiscal year is the open season, about 60% of planning projects should be implemented. Although it is mentioned in the financial statistic that about 31% of the finance was consumed, the actual ground level completion of the projects is about 60%. In the coming fiscal year, we will try to submit the financial consumption in accordance with the ground level completion to the nearest level.
နောက်လာမည့်ဗဏ္ဍာရေးနှစ်များမှာတော့မြေပြင်ပြီးစီးမှုရာခိုင်နှုန်းနဲ့ငွေကြေးထုတ်ယူမှုရာခိုင်နှုန်းအနည်းဆက်ဆုံးဖြစ်အောင်ဆောင်ရွက်သွားမှာဖြစ်ပါကြောင်းရှင်းလင်းတင်ပြအပ်ပါတယ်
The Ministry of Planning, Finance and Industry is monitoring and performing analysis of the planning and budget of the ministries. The Pidangsu Luro recorded the National Planning Report and Union Budget Report by the Joint Public Accounts Committee. News reported by Dora Susan from Myanmar International Radio.
That's the report on Ministries clarifies findings on National Planning Report and Union Budget Report. Now to international news. Afghan authorities have started to release 400 Taliban prisoners, the final hurdle in launching long-delayed peace talks between the two warring sides. A group of 80 prisoners were released on Thursday, the office of the Afghan National Security Council spokesman Javed Faisal said. He tweeted that it would speed up efforts for direct talks and a lasting nationwide ceasefire. Their release was approved at the weekend by a gathering of thousands of prominent Afghans called by President Ashraf Ghani after the authorities initially refused to free the militants, accused of serious crimes including brutal attacks that killed Afghans and foreigners. Both sides have said they are ready to begin talks in Doha, Qatar, within days of the prisoners being freed. According to a lawyer preparing one of the lawsuits, TikTok and its U.S. employees are planning to take President Donald Trump's administration to court over his sweeping ban on the popular video app. Mike Godwin, an internet policy lawyer representing the employees, said the employees' legal challenge to Trump's executive order will be separate from a pending lawsuit from the company that owns the app, though both will argue that the order is unconstitutional. President Trump last week ordered sweeping but vague bans on dealings with the Chinese owners of TikTok and messaging app WeChat, saying they are a threat to U.S. national security, foreign policy, and the economy. The TikTok order would take effect in September, but it remains unclear what it will mean for the app's 100 million U.S. users. Many of them are teenagers or young adults who use it to post and watch short-form videos.
A lot of the younger generation is very you need to get your information quickly, and that's kind of been the forte of TikTok is the 15-second videos.
It is an extremely addictive platform. It's a bunch of super short, usually right to the point videos that are funny or engaging. It's super easy for anybody, and I mean anyone including me, to post creative content and create creative content.
I heard that Trump was trying to ban it, which has never been done before from my knowledge of a president trying to ban an app, and I sincerely broke down.
I do know that there is a timeline for it to go away, but at the same time, I do feel like something will be worked out.
That's all with the news and reports on Myanmar Today Review. We'll be back next week. Thank you for watching.